The Voice of Hind, a Tunisian production, based around the Palestinian Red Crescent Society, who are a group of volunteers who, in the movie themselves, are out trying to rescue a young girl by the name of Hind as she's kind of cowered in a car, sheltered in a car in the Gaza Strip. The movie doesn't pull any punches straight from the off. We find ourselves in the crisis call center as a team of volunteers are trying to connect with the girl, one man in particular. And you basically are already just looking at his face as you're hearing excerpts of her voice. When you're listening to the voice, some of that is the kind of the dramatization of the child actor who's playing the girl, and some of it is actually real audio footage of the girl herself. And this continues throughout the movie, which really gives it a kind of a real sense of authenticity. As the movie continues, we rarely focus on the desperate effects to try and rescue the girl. And the way that this is described as is the Red Crescent Society have a fleet of, or a small fleet, shall we say, of ambulances that try and go out and rescue people. But it's not just a case of the Crescent Society reaching out to the ambulance and saying, please go to this location. They have to get a number of okays from different levels of government. I think it's the Israeli army, the Israeli government. I think it's the Red Cross as well. And the reason that this is to happen is that if the ambulance just went out straight away, there's a chance that they could be shot at, they could be fired at, right? Some people might view them as would-be terrorists. So it's important that they get that okay before they actually go out. And what follows throughout this movie is this desperate wait to get that okay, because for a lot of the movie, that okay doesn't happen. We are really struggling and waiting with the crisis call center volunteers. This is a single point shot movie, so the camera stays in the crisis call center, doesn't go out to look at the child or the ambulance. We just stay in the crisis call center. And what that means is that the movie has really offered this sense of intimacy, this sense, almost this sense of claustrophobia, where you really feel you feel as connected to the characters as they feel to the child that they're trying to connect with. These types of movies have been done before, that kind of single point location, but I would not say that I've seen it with this great effect, because the raw emotion that the volunteers are facing when they're on the line trying to connect with the girl, and you see the frustration, you see the stress, you see just that raw emotion playing out on the faces of the volunteers, you feel as the viewer like you're just sitting in the room with them. Right? I never once felt that I was outside of the room. I felt I was immersed in the room with them as they're trying to reach the girl. A lot of the action, as I mentioned, is just looking at faces as they're desperately trying to call the girl. Sometimes those calls drop in and out, so there's a real sense of helplessness around that uncertainty. Is she okay? Is she not okay? There's also some kind of other challenges there where the kind of the manager, I would say, of the crisis call center volunteers, he's really doing his best to stick to protocol, right? He wants to make sure that he gets all the okays necessary before he sends the ambulance out. Reason being, again, if he sends the ambulance out without that okay, there's a chance that they could lose their lives. The ambulance workers could lose their lives. So he's really got to look out for them. At the same time, the challenge of the crisis care center volunteers, as they just want the ambulance to go out. They're the ones dealing with the girl. They can listen to her being, really scared and overwhelmed. And the challenges between management and the challenges between the volunteers are also really clear. You get that frustration, you get that real raw emotion between them. They're both working for the same cause, but both of them have their hands tied behind their backs. As the movie continues, there's one point in the movie especially, I think, which really moved me, was just this sense of they think about to try and get this, to kind of speed up the process of them, being okay to send the ambulance out, is just to put this information onto social media. They have the girl's voice recording, rarely feeling overwhelmed. And the suggestion was, let's just get it out. Let's get her voice recording out onto social media so we get some, real international support for this. And the main crisis care volunteer, he's the one who's been dealing with this girl since the beginning, kind of shrugs his shoulders and is just like, what difference is it going to make, right? People see this footage every day. They see girls being tortured and shot and killed, and people don't do anything, right? They just get on with their lives. What is the point in sending this out? It really hits home of just this sense of helplessness, just this sense of we're just trying to help someone, right? Why can't we get the help to provide help to those who really need it? Throughout the movie, again, you really feel this sense of being immersed in the situation. There was not for a moment where I felt like I was a viewer. I was immersed in the moment. I was immersed in that call center. I felt the emotions that they went through. There's also a psychologist, I guess, who's kind of trying to help the crisis care center volunteers who, first really does her best to try and support the volunteers as she sees them getting overwhelmed in the moment. And then inevitably, as the movie continues, she starts to get really vested in the process as well. And it just shows that when we're connected to those moments where people are crying for help, and we're not able to help people, we all get affected, right? All of us get affected by it. This movie really moved me. Throughout the movie, I just stopped several times to catch my breath. I heard a lot of crying around me throughout the movie. I cried several times. And it really opened your eyes to the real people who are involved in these crisis situations around the world, and why we let these things happen, right? We don't speak about it. We don't push for change. And for the first time, at least I felt really connected to that sense of frustration, that sense of helplessness. When the movie ended, there was silence. I've never been in a movie where there's been so much silence at the end of the movie. Again, a lot of tears, but it was just silence. And it was just the whole movie, and especially the last 30 minutes, of this sense of, it was heavy. It was really heavy in that movie theater. This movie needs to be watched. Like, you need to watch this movie. And it's up for the BAFTAs. I think it's up for the Oscars as well. For the best international feature. It needs to be watched because these are real human lives that are being affected. And I think it's also easy for us to see these things on a TV and be a little bit distant from them, and then just turn on to the other channel, right? Or kind of stream another movie. This doesn't allow you to do that. You sit in that moment of pain. You sit in the moment of helplessness. You sit in that moment of overwhelm. You experience what so many people experience around the world. It doesn't allow you to move from the situation. And again, I think that's really just well down to how the movie has immersed yourself. It doesn't leave that center. I think if the movie, if the cameras moved that crisis call center, if they went out onto the field, I think it might have lost that sense of momentum. But it didn't. You are stuck there. You cannot move, just as those crisis care volunteers cannot move from the need to want to help and realizing that they just cannot. This movie needs to be watched. I'd really recommend it. It is overwhelming. It has taken me a couple of days to recover from it, but it needs to be watched. So that's the voice of Hind Rajab, Tunisian production. Please go and watch it.